The year 2745 would be remembered as the moment humanity's patience finally ran out. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before the Galactic Council's crystalline chamber, her ceremonial white uniform a stark contrast against the obsidian walls that seemed to absorb starlight itself. 53 alien species watched with a mixture of pity and condescension as she addressed the towering figure of High Commander Vexthor of the Karnax Empire. The United Earth Federation categorically rejects your demand to abandon our outer colonies, Chen stated, her voice carrying none of the fear the Karnax had come to expect from lesser species. These worlds were legally settled under Article 7 of the Galactic Charter. Vexthor's crystalline exoskeleton shimmered with barely contained rage, 4 pairs of compound eyes fixing on the human ambassador. The Karnax had ruled the Orion Arm for millennia before humanity had even discovered fire. Their biomechanical ships were legendary, their warriors feared across 12,000 light-years of space. You mistake your position, Ambassador. Vexthor's translator rendered his clicks and whistles into standard galactic. The Karnax Empire does not negotiate with primitive species. Your kind has spread too far, too fast. It makes the elder races uncomfortable. A ripple of agreement passed through the chamber. Many species shared the Karnax's concerns about humanity's rapid expansion. In just 2 centuries, since achieving FTL travel, humans had established thriving colonies across 37 worlds. Their ships, while technologically inferior, seemed to appear everywhere at once. Chen smiled, and something in that expression made several council members shift uneasily in their environmental pods. With respect, High Commander, humanity has followed every regulation, signed every treaty, and maintained peaceful relations with all species. We've even shared our terraforming technologies freely. Your apparent cooperation makes you more dangerous, not less. Vexthor's mandibles clicked. The Karnax have observed your kind. You build your colonies like fortresses while calling them peaceful settlements. Your cargo ships have military-grade shields while claiming to be simple merchants. You speak of peace while preparing for war. We prepare for survival, High Commander. Earth is a death world, as your own xenobiologists have classified it. Preparation is in our nature. The chamber's atmosphere grew tense as Vexthor rose to his full 4-meter height. Then prepare for this. You have 30 solar cycles to abandon your colonies in the Orion Arm. Any human vessels or settlements remaining after that time will be considered military targets. The Karnax Empire has spoken. Chen's response was measured, almost gentle, and humanity has listened. She paused, her next words carrying across the chamber with perfect clarity. We have listened for 200 years as the elder races dismissed us, underestimated us, and threatened us. We have been patient. We have been diplomatic. We have been polite. She touched a small pin on her collar, and throughout human space, a signal began to transmit. But High Commander, you should have asked yourselves, why would a species that evolved on a death world spend so much effort appearing harmless? The first reports began reaching the council chamber even before Chen finished speaking. Human ships across the galaxy were changing. Harmless-looking hull plates shifted and transformed, revealing weapon systems that shouldn't have been possible with humanity's known technology level. Civilian vessels shed their outer layers like butterflies emerging from chrysalises, revealing sleek warships beneath. The Karnax Empire has spoken. Chen's voice never wavered. Now humanity will act. We recommend all non-combatant species clear the Orion Arm within the next 24 hours. After that, we cannot guarantee their safety. You dare threaten the Karnax? Vexthor's translator barely managed to convey his rage. Our empire spans 1,000 worlds. No, High Commander. This is not a threat. Chen's smile finally faded. This is a courtesy notification. You see, humanity has a saying. Don't mistake our kindness for weakness. We've been kind for 200 years. As she turned to leave the chamber, the council's quantum displays erupted with reports. Human ships were appearing from hyperspace at strategic points throughout the Orion Arm. But these weren't the simple vessels the galaxy had come to know. These ships bristled with technologies that shouldn't have existed, weapons that violated what other species had thought were the laws of physics. One last thing. Chen paused at the chamber's exit. Those fortress-like colonies you mentioned. You were right about one thing. We don't build anything without a purpose. As if on cue, across 37 human worlds, defensive systems that had laid dormant for decades began to activate. Shield technologies far beyond what humanity was supposed to possess shimmered into existence, and in high orbit around each colony, orbital platforms that had masqueraded as weather stations and communication arrays revealed their true nature. The galaxy was about to learn why Earth was classified as a death world, and its children had never forgotten the lessons their harsh cradle had taught them. The Karnax Empire had demanded humanity's surrender. Instead, they had awoken a sleeping giant that had spent 2 centuries preparing for exactly this moment. As Chen walked away from the council chamber, she sent one final message to Earth Command. Titan Protocol activated. Civilization status shifted from defensive to responsive. May God have mercy on their souls, because humanity is done being polite. Admiral James Harrison stood in the command center of Titan Base, buried deep beneath the ice of Saturn's largest moon. For 2 centuries, this facility had been humanity's best-kept secret, masked from alien sensors as a simple research station. Now, as holographic displays flickered to life around him, the true scope of human military preparation became apparent. Status report. Harrison commanded, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of tactical displays. Commander Elena Rodriguez, his second-in-command, stepped forward. Titan Protocol implementation at 87% across all colonies. The Aegis Defense Network is fully operational in the Sol system and our core worlds. The Karnax still haven't detected our quantum communication relays. And the Lazarus fleet, emerging from dark space as we speak. 200 ships, Admiral. The finest vessels humanity has ever built, hidden in plain sight for decades. Harrison nodded, watching as red dots representing Karnax battle groups began moving across the strategic display. The alien empire was marshaling its forces exactly as predicted. Human intelligence had spent years studying Karnax military doctrine, and now that knowledge would prove invaluable. They're organizing a 3-pronged assault, Rodriguez observed. Classic Karnax hammer and anvil strategy. They still think we're limited to conventional FTL travel. Harrison allowed himself a grim smile. Then let's show them why humanity invested so heavily in quantum mechanics research. Activate the Prometheus grid. Throughout human space, hidden quantum entanglement nodes awakened. These devices, disguised as standard communication buoys, formed an instantaneous network that would give human forces an insurmountable tactical advantage. While other species relied on light-speed communications or unstable FTL signals, humanity had quietly mastered quantum communication decades ago. "Sir," a young lieutenant called out, "we're receiving a priority transmission from Ambassador Chen. The Galactic Council is in chaos. 3 minor empires have already withdrawn their forces from the Orion Arm, and the Arthean Collective is officially declaring neutrality." "Good. The fewer civilians in the combat zone, the better." Harrison turned to the massive holographic representation of human space. "Deploy the Ghost Squadrons. Let's see how the Karnax handle ships they can't detect." The Ghost Squadrons were perhaps humanity's most ambitious deception. For years, the galaxy had watched human ships bumble through space with seemingly primitive cloaking technology. No one had suspected that humans had actually mastered dimensional shifting, allowing their ships to exist partially out of phase with normal spacetime. "Admiral," Rodriguez's voice carried a note of concern, "the Karnax are broadcasting on all frequencies. They're demanding our immediate surrender and threatening to execute the human populations of any colonies they capture." Harrison's expression hardened. "Send them our response. Article 17 of the Human Military Code." "Sir." Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. That's just a blank page in our public military documents. Exactly. Let them waste time trying to decode a message that doesn't exist. Meanwhile, initiate Phase 2 of the Titan Protocol. Throughout human space, seemingly civilian structures began to transform. Orbital habitats revealed energy weapon emplacements that had laid dormant for decades. Mining installations transformed into missile platforms. Even the weather control satellites, technology humanity had freely shared with other species, showed their true nature as they began generating localized gravitational distortions. Sir, first contact with Karnak's forces in the Proxima system. A tactical officer reported. They're engaging our civilian ships. Harrison watched as the drama unfolded. The Karnak's warships, confident in their superiority, moved to capture what they thought were defenseless human transports. Instead, they found themselves facing vessels that shed their civilian disguises like snake skin, revealing advanced warships beneath. Casualties? Harrison asked. None on our side, sir. The Karnaks lost 3 cruisers in the initial engagement. They're pulling back to regroup. Rodriguez studied the tactical display. They'll adapt quickly. The Karnaks didn't build their empire by being stupid. No, Harrison agreed, but they made one crucial mistake. They assumed that because we weren't showing our teeth, we had none. He turned to his command staff. Send word to all fleet commanders. Operation Avalon is now in effect. Show them what humanity can do when we stop pretending. Across the Orion Arm, human forces began to move with precision that spoke of years of preparation. Ships appeared from dimensional pockets that shouldn't have existed. Defense platforms revealed weapon systems that violated what other species thought were immutable laws of physics. Sir, Rodriguez reported, we're detecting massive Karnak's fleet movements. They're consolidating their forces for a major push. Harrison nodded. As expected, they still think this is a war of attrition. Time to show them why Earth's history books are filled with stories of apparently superior forces being defeated by prepared defenders. He paused, looking at the tactical display one last time. Activate the Thanatos Protocol. Throughout human space, a new type of weapon prepared to fire. For centuries, humanity had publicly denounced the use of artificial intelligence in warfare. In reality, they had developed something far more sophisticated. Quantum neural networks that could process tactical information and react at speeds no organic being could match. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their hidden technology or their military preparation. It was their capacity for strategic deception, their ability to appear weak while building strength, and their patience in waiting for the perfect moment to reveal their true capabilities. As the first reports of major engagements began flowing in, Harrison sent a simple message to all human forces. The time for deception is over. Show them why Earth is called a death world. High Commander Vexthor stood aboard his flagship, the Crystal Dominion, as the largest Karnak's battle fleet ever assembled prepared to engage the human forces. 10,000 ships strong, their crystalline hulls reflecting starlight like a sea of diamonds. This would be a decisive blow to crush these upstart humans who had dared to challenge the natural order of the galaxy. My lord, his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Zix, approached with visible agitation. Our forward scouts have failed to report in. All 30 of them. Vexthor's mandibles clicked in irritation. Impossible. Nothing can detect our stealth vessels, let alone destroy them without raising an alarm. There's more, Zix continued. Our long-range sensors are detecting anomalies. Space itself seems to be distorting around the human defense lines. Their primitive technology cannot affect space-time. Launch the first wave. Let's remind these humans of their place in the galaxy. 3,000 Karnak's warships surged forward, their biomechanical weapons charging with enough power to reduce planets to ash. They had expected to face a disorganized human defense. Instead, they found themselves flying into perfectly prepared killing zones. Space itself seemed to come alive. Hidden gravitational weapons, disguised for decades as standard planetary defense stations, activated in perfect synchronization. Karnak ships found their crystalline hulls, previously thought impenetrable, shattering under forces that defied their understanding of physics. Impossible. Vex-Thor raged as the first casualty reports came in. How are they predicting our attack vectors? Every strategy we employ is countered before we execute it. The answer came in the form of quantum ghosts, human ships that seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously, attacking from angles that should not have been possible. The Karnak's battle computers, the most advanced in known space, struggled to track enemies that appeared to violate causality itself. "My lord," Zix's voice carried barely contained panic. "We're detecting energy signatures unlike anything in our database. The humans are deploying some kind of reality warping technology." On the tactical displays, human ships began to emerge from what appeared to be tiers in spacetime itself. These weren't the crude vessels the Galaxy had come to know. These were warships that had been hidden away, waiting for this moment. Their hulls rippled with energy fields that absorbed Karnak's weapons fire, like it was nothing more than light rain. "Launch the World Breakers," Vex-Thor commanded. The Karnak's Empire's ultimate weapons, planet-destroying missiles that could crack worlds in half, streaked across space toward the human colonies. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. The human defense networks, which had masqueraded as simple planetary shields, revealed their true nature. The World Breakers, weapons that had destroyed countless civilizations, simply vanished, swallowed by defensive systems that operated on principles the Karnaks couldn't begin to comprehend. "Sir," Zix's voice was barely a whisper, "we're detecting quantum entanglement signatures. Massive ones. The humans. They're coordinating their entire fleet instantaneously." Vex-Thor watched in growing horror as his carefully planned assault crumbled. Human ships moved with impossible precision, each fleet acting as if it knew exactly what every other fleet was doing at every moment. There was no lag in communication, no delay in tactical responses. They moved as one vast, coordinated organism. "Fall back," Vex-Thor ordered. "Regroup at the secondary position." But the humans had anticipated this too. As the Karnak's fleet attempted to retreat, they found their FTL drives unable to engage. Somehow, the humans had deployed technology that could locally alter the laws of faster-than-light travel. "This is Admiral Harrison of the United Earth Fleet," a transmission cut through all Karnak's communications. "Your forces are trapped in normal space. Your weapons are ineffective, and your tactics have been predicted. You have one chance to surrender." Vex-Thor's crystalline exoskeleton vibrated with fury. "The Karnak's empire does not surrender to primitives." "As you wish." Harrison's voice was calm. "Ghost Fleet Actual, you have permission to engage. Show them what humanity can really do." The space around the Karnak's fleet erupted with activity as hundreds of human ships phased into reality. These weren't the ships that had been fighting until now. These were humanity's true elite forces, vessels that had spent decades hiding in dimensional pockets, waiting for this moment. All this time, Harrison's voice carried a note of almost paternal disappointment. "You thought you were fighting our main fleet. Those were just our defensive forces. This, High Commander, is a human offensive." The battle that followed was less a fight and more a systematic dismantling of the greatest fleet the Karnak's empire had ever assembled. Human ships moved through space in ways that seemed to mock physics itself. Their weapons didn't just destroy Karnak's vessels, they appeared to erase them from existence. As Vex-Thor watched his mighty armada being torn apart by forces he couldn't comprehend, a terrible realization dawned. The humans hadn't been developing defensive technology all these years. They had been developing weapons and strategies specifically designed to counter Karnak's military doctrine. Every human advancement, every seemingly primitive design, had been part of an elaborate deception leading to this moment. "Sir," Zix reported, his voice shaking, "we've lost contact with 70% of the fleet. The humans are deploying some kind of quantum-based weapon that's targeting our ship's crystalline structures specifically. They're not just defeating us. They're showing the galaxy that they can nullify our greatest strengths. As the Crystal Dominion systems began to fail, Vexthor finally understood humanity's true victory. They hadn't just prepared for war. They had spent 2 centuries orchestrating the perfect moment to demonstrate to the galaxy that the age of Karnak's dominance was over. The last thing Vexthor saw before his flagship's quantum core went critical was a simple text message scrolling across his command display. Next time, ask yourselves why a Death World species spent so much effort appearing harmless. Deep within Titan Base, Admiral Harrison and his command staff watched as Operation Avalanche entered its final phase. The defeat of the Karnak's main fleet had been just the beginning. Now humanity would demonstrate why they had spent 2 centuries meticulously mapping every Karnak's world, studying every defense system, and preparing for this exact moment. Status of the quantum strike teams, Harrison asked, his eyes fixed on the strategic display showing Karnak space. Commander Rodriguez pulled up a holographic report. All teams in position, sir. Our phase-shifted infiltrators have successfully penetrated the defense grids of 37 major Karnak's worlds. They never detected our reconnaissance missions over the past 50 years. Begin Phase 3, Harrison ordered. Let's show them why humans are called the galaxy's best students. Across Karnak space, carefully planted quantum beacons activated. These devices, some of which had been in place for decades, had been disguised as standard communication relays. Technology the Karnaks had dismissed as primitive. Now they revealed their true purpose, creating a network of quantum corridors that would allow human forces to strike anywhere in Karnak's territory instantly. Sir, a young lieutenant called out, the Karnaks are mobilizing their reserve fleets. They're trying to establish a defensive perimeter around their core worlds. Harrison nodded, just as expected. They still think in terms of conventional space warfare. Activate the Hydra Protocol. Throughout Karnak space, human agents who had spent years posing as simple merchants and diplomats received their signals. Defense systems that the Karnaks had proudly purchased from human corporations years ago. Systems they had thoroughly examined for any signs of weapons or sabotage, revealed their true nature. Remarkable, Rodriguez mused, watching as Karnak's planetary shields began to fail. They never questioned why we were so willing to sell them our inferior technology. Pride, Harrison replied, is the deadliest weakness in warfare. The Karnaks were so convinced of their superiority that they never imagined we were playing a longer game. He turned to his tactical officers. Deploy the Nemesis fleets. The Nemesis fleets were humanity's masterpiece of military deception. For decades, the galaxy had watched human ships lumber through space with supposedly primitive engines. No one had suspected that humans had actually mastered quantum tunneling technology, allowing their ships to appear literally anywhere instantaneously. Across Karnak space, human warships began appearing directly inside planetary defense perimeters. These weren't the simple vessels the galaxy knew. These were ships built specifically to counter Karnak's technology, their weapons designed to exploit weaknesses that humanity had spent centuries studying. Sir, Rodriguez reported, the Karnaks are attempting to activate their deep space defense network. Harrison allowed himself a small smile. Initiate the logic bomb. Throughout Karnak space, their much-vaunted artificial intelligence defense systems began to fail. The humans hadn't just studied Karnak's technology. They had spent decades introducing subtle vulnerabilities into the Empire's computer systems through seemingly harmless trade goods and technological exchanges. My God, one of the tactical officers whispered, they're completely exposed. Their entire defense network is falling apart. No, Harrison corrected. They're experiencing what happens when you underestimate humans' capacity for long-term planning. Every trade deal, every technological exchange, every diplomatic mission for the past 200 years has been leading to this moment. On the strategic display, Human forces moved with devastating precision. Ships appeared inside Karnak's fortress worlds, their weapons specifically calibrated to defeat crystalline technology. Special forces teams, equipped with phase shift technology that made them virtually invisible, began systematically disabling key military installations. "Sir," Rodriguez called out, "we're receiving surrender signals from multiple Karnak's worlds. Their civilian government is trying to contact us directly, bypassing their military command." Harrison nodded. As expected, the Karnak's military aristocracy would fight to the death, but their civilian leadership has always been more practical. He paused, considering his next words carefully. "Accept their surrender transmissions. Inform them that humanity has no interest in conquest. We simply want recognition of our right to exist without interference." The strategic display continued to update as more Karnak's worlds surrendered. The mighty empire that had dominated the galaxy for millennia was being systematically dismantled by the very species they had dismissed as primitives. "Send word to all fleet commanders," Harrison ordered. "Operation Avalanche is entering its final phase. Show the galaxy that humans know how to win a war without destroying our enemies." Across Karnak space, human forces began implementing pre-prepared occupation protocols. Unlike the brutal conquests the galaxy had come to expect, human troops arrived with relief supplies and medical aid. The message was clear. Humanity had not just prepared for war. They had prepared for peace. "Sir," Rodriguez said quietly, "the Galactic Council is requesting an emergency session. Several major powers are already withdrawing their previous objections to human expansion." Harrison turned to face his command staff. "Then it's time for the final lesson. Send them the complete records of Project Cassandra, our 2-century-long preparation for this moment. Let the galaxy understand that humanity's greatest weapon was never our technology." He paused, allowing his words to sink in. "It was our patience in waiting for the right moment to use it."